Hi, my name is Sophia, to those of you who have not met me or did not see my live stream on Saturday. I am a voice teacher and guitar teacher at the Providence School of Music. I'm also a composer and a general music enthusiast. So hello, nice to meet you all. Today we're going to be talking about sort of the basics of singing. This is for people who have maybe not taken voice lessons before or want to sing a little bit more. It also can function for people who have never sung in their lives. It's some kind of very basic points or an outline what I think the two most important aspects of singing are, and then just some other kind of fun facts or cool things to think about as you're starting to learn to sing. This is also useful for people who may have been singing for a long time, because I think it's always good to go back to the basics. I know I always like to take the time online between my voice lessons so that I'll watch other people's voice lessons and see what I can learn from them, even if it's people who are just starting out. Yeah, so this should work for everyone of all ages. I have a little PowerPoint prepared. If you can't read, that's fine. I'll be saying everything that is written in the PowerPoint and demonstrating for you as well. So let's see, let's start. I'm going to screen share my little presentation here. Yes, there we go. Awesome. All right, basics of singing with me. So, singing, if you play another instrument, it's pretty different from other instruments in that it's not like, say, a flute or clarinet, or even a guitar, in that you kind of press a button or a string and a note comes out. Singing is really important to have a good ear and to be able to listen to things, because, as I said, it's not like a piano where I can just go, all right, I need to play that, so I'll just press the button. I need to be able to hear it and go, ah. Cool. That maybe is obvious, but that's okay. All right, so the two most important things in singing. Number one is breathing. Number one is more important than number two. Breathing is the most important thing, and number two is space. That may sound a little more vague than breathing, but you'll see what I mean in a moment. All right, so breathing. A lot of people think, okay, so I breathe, sorry, my cat's going crazy. I breathe from the lungs, so that means that when I breathe, I have to expand and contract. So sometimes when people start to think about their breathing, because we breathe all the time, it should be something that's supernatural, but when people think about their breathing, they think, oh gosh, I have to start raising up and down my arm, and they start gasping, which is actually not going to get any air into our entire being, which is not going to help us sing. If I gasp, the air actually kind of stops almost right here at the back of my throat. It doesn't even make it to my lungs. What we need to think about is that air is going to come from the abdomen. I'll move back. It's going to come from here. So if you have the space, or if you're watching this later, I like to put my hands in a kind of triangle or diamond shape on my stomach and just feel myself breathe. Just a nice relaxed breath, almost like if you're in yoga. I like to do it in through the nose, out through the mouth, just like yoga, as I said. And you can actually feel your stomach expand. So even though, right, our lungs are in our air, it fills up our stomach. And that's where our support is going to come from when we're singing. So something I say often to my voice students, like, oh, I can't get enough support, or I don't feel like I can hit this note. I say, engage your core. That's where your support is all going to come from. It's not from your shoulders. It's not even really from your lungs. If you're thinking about your body, it's coming from the stomach. Another thing that's great about breath is that it's our source of support, as I said, for singing, and it's also going to keep us from going flat. Because when people run out of air, that's when we tend to go flat. And if you don't know what flat means, flat is kind of beneath the note we're trying to sing, and sharp is higher than the note we're trying to sing. So those are two ways of going out of tune or out of key. So proper breath support is really important for staying in tune. Something that I often think about is when I do warm-ups, like mi, me, ma, mo, mu. It's natural for us as singers when we're thinking downwards to fall flat. So if I'm not thinking about what pitch is, mi, me, ma, mo, mu, it's natural as I'm heading down, I'm thinking down mentally, I'm going, okay, we're going down one step at a time, just naturally going to fall flat. I'm going to fall beneath the notes. So one way to combat that is think, okay, I have to keep my breath support super consistent and almost think about it lifting me up. So while I'm going down in pitch, down in the notes, I'm thinking up in the way I'm supporting myself. Mi, me, ma, mo, mu. And that's going to keep me way more on pitch. And anytime you're thinking, oh gosh, I'm falling flat, or I don't know how to do this, engage your core. Engage your core. It's super important. Think, all right, I can squeeze a little bit more support out of my breath. Even if you feel like you're running out of breath, just a little bit more like oomph in your body is going to help you a lot. Another thing that I did not mention in this PowerPoint, but that is really important, is that often when we're singing, especially if it's something high and challenging, our voice might crack. And we can think, oh gosh, I can't sing that, or I'm not powerful enough to sing that, or, you know, even though I'm a 40-year-old woman, I sound like I'm going through puberty of a, teenager. Voice cracks occur because there's not enough support from the core. And unfortunately, I can't necessarily demonstrate a voice crack on command, but if I could, I would show you that the second time around, if I do it with my core engaged, the voice crack is not going to happen. All right, cool. I'm going to go out of full screen just to make sure that we have no questions. I have to stop sharing to see the chat. Cool, we're good. Going back to the presentation for part 2 of very important things. All right, the second one is space. When I say space, I mean a couple different things. The first off, space is that vowel shapes are really, really important when singing. It's the same way that you might have to make a specific mouth shape to get noise out of a flute, or to, vibrate your lips in a certain way to get sound out of a trumpet. Vowel shape is super important when we're singing, and in a language like English, we have so many different vowels. And so we have to be really aware of what vowels we're actually singing. So as you heard before, I did a warm-up that just included the words mi, me, ma, mo, and mu. And those are 5 vowels. And those are kind of the vowels that I treat as the basics, the building blocks of every other vowel. So a word like cow, it's actually 2 vowels, even though it's 1 syllable, just cow. We can think about it using those 5 vowels, E, A, O, and U. We can think about cow as something made up of those sounds. So if I do it really slowly, and you can watch my mouth here too, cow, cow. You can kind of hear that there's multiple sounds happening. So there's the ka, right, of cow, and then we go from all the way to a closed oo to make that kind of W sound that we have in English. Cow. I know I seem silly saying this over and over again, but I promise you it's important. So if we're singing the word cow, we have to think about what's the best vowel to sing it on that we're still going to understand it to be the word cow. If I go, cow, that sounds a little funny, right? Even though I'm still saying the word cow, and you can hear that because it's a simple word. We don't really want to stay on that ooh. Cow. One, it doesn't feel that great to me. It feels like a lot of tension and feels a little fake to stay on the ooh that much. And then if I go, okay, maybe not the ooh, but let's sing on the ah of cow. Ka. So I didn't finish with the W sound there, but you can already tell that it sounds a little bit more like the normal way of speaking the word cow. So now, what we can do with that is say, okay, I'm going to stay on the ah of cow for as long as I can, and at the very end of the word, we're just going to put that ooh sound to make sure we hear the W in the word cow. So let's try that out. Cow. Right? Now it sounds like a normal way to sing cow. It's not cow or ka, because that sounds like the sound a crow makes. So when we're thinking about vowel shape, we really do have to think about every word we sing and say, okay, what sound am I going to make this word as clear as possible? You'll also notice that when I say the vowels ka and oo, I'm making those shapes with my mouth. I'm going ah and oo. I can't really go ah and ooh, so we have to be really conscious of how we're shaping these vowels. Because if we don't have the right vowel shape, one, it's going to sound weird, it's going to feel weird, and the sound might not come out as much. It's hard to make a very loud, powerful ah on a closed mouth. Ah, ah, it feels weird. I can't even do it properly because it's just so unnatural. All right, so we've talked about vowel shape and the word cow. I've said cow too many times. So we're going to talk about the yawn space in the back of the throat. This is also super important for singing. And when I say the yawn space, I mean this kind of literal space that you feel when you yawn. If you want to demonstrate, I can do a fake yawn and just go, ah, or ah. I can feel that the back of my throat is super, super open. And we want to have that space in the back of our throat because when we're really open, it's almost like we're creating a big stage for the sound to come out through. You want to think about your voice as I said, like a performance space for the sound you're making. If I don't have all that space in back, it's just going to come out kind of squished. Like, versus, You saw that my front of the mouth opened, but I used a lot of space in back too. And you can access that space, as I said, by kind of forming a yawn. But I want to demonstrate on a really high note because that space is super, super important, especially on the high end of our range and the low end of our range. And when I say range, that just means the kind of full expanse of what we can sing. So something like might be low for me, and something like might be really high for me. So I want to demonstrate using this high note what it sounds like when I don't have that space in the back of my throat. So not the like how open and nice and relaxed I am in the back of my throat. So if I don't have a lot of space in the back of my throat, so I'm still able to make the sound, but it sounds a little squished, a little squeaky even. But, and forgive me if I get a little too loud here, if I have a lot of space in the back of my throat and I really open up and allow for all of the sound to come out of me, using that support from my breath. So I'm going to breathe, take a nice deep breath in, feel it here, and then make a lot of space. Suddenly, you have a lot more sound, and it's, one, a lot more comfortable for me. Even though it sounds like I'm putting in more effort, it actually is relaxed. It's almost just like a big, nice stretch. And you'll see at the bottom I say open mouth all the time, as open as you can be. Of course, there are some songs where you sing ooh, ooh, but I'm gonna get really close. Forgive me if this is weird. I would much rather you see my lips sticking out ooh for ooh than really tight in ooh. You can already see there's a difference in space even on such a small vowel like ooh. So ooh is better than ooh. Same thing with e. E is better than e. You can already hear that it makes such a difference in the sound quality when we're thinking about our vowels. So I just threw a lot of information at you about different vowel sounds, but it's really important. And as I said, this is going to be posted on YouTube after this is done, so you can always come back to it. Cool. All right, I'm going to stop sharing again to check chat. Cool. Doing well. Awesome. Back to screen sharing. Forgive me, I'm still getting used to this. Cool. All right. So, I already established that the most important things to think about when we're singing are breath, our breath support coming from here, and space, both the space that we're making with the front of our mouth, so with the vowel sounds like e, a, o, and oo, and the changing of different vowels, but also the space that we have, not only how much we're opening our mouths, like I really want to see ah versus ah. I should almost, actually, if you want to do this, you can do this to yourself. When I sing, I want my jaw to be so relaxed and I want my mouth to be so open that this little kind of space next to your ear, you can feel open up. There's kind of a jaw hinge right there. Should be open enough that you feel that shift. I'm gonna mute you so everyone can practice on their own. No worries. Cool. All right. But that's awesome to hear that you're trying stuff out. That's great. All right. Can you guys see this? Cool. All right. So you might think, okay, so both these things, breathing and vowel shape, those are kind of maybe natural things to think about. When we're speaking, we have to think about what vowels to use. It's almost natural to us in the language that we speak, like what sounds we have to make. And of course we have to breathe all the time. Breathing is what keeps us alive. You're right. And I like to think about singing as a sort of extended speaking. I really do believe that everyone can learn to sing. I truly believe that. And people say, oh, I don't know about that. I'm like, well, you can talk and you can hear that when I'm talking up here, it's a little higher than when I'm talking down here. If you're able to tell that, that means you can do it the same. You're able to imitate me in my speaking, which means that eventually, with just some practice, you can learn to match pitch from a piano. If I'm thinking, okay, I can hear that that's low, kind of closer to where I'm speaking, so I can just go, ah. You can even say that, just like, ah, and then stretch it out, ah. Singing, in a way, is just stretched out speaking. Or if it's up here, I can hear that that's a little higher. Maybe if I'm talking up here, right, you can hear that I'm talking higher. Right? It's just stretched out speaking. I can just go, aha, ah. Something I like to use, especially on notes that might be hard for you to reach, is this exercise that I learned from another voice teacher called the hey exercise. If I'm, for me, this is hard for me to sing in my full voice. It's hard for me to feel supported on that. It feels pretty high for me. You can kind of hear that I'm straining, kind of reaching up towards it. That's not the way we want to approach notes that are a little high for us. So a really good way to get comfortable with this note is to try and kind of say it, or to say hey as if you're saying hey to a friend across the street or a neighbor that you see. So I'm going to start a little lower. So I have this note. So I'm going to try and speak it on that pitch first a couple times until I feel really confident with how it sounds. Hey, so that I don't feel supported from here. Hey, hey. Okay, that's how I would speak it. Just go, hey. That's my friend across the street. Hey. So now I'm going to try and stretch it out once I feel really good about that. Hey, hey, hey. And suddenly I'm singing and it's really supported. We're going to move up a little bit. We're going to approach that note that I had a hard time singing. So if I were just to sing this, hey, it's not that supported. It feels a little weak. I feel a lot of tension here. I don't have enough space in back. So I'm going to try and speak it first. We're going to use what we're comfortable with, our speaking voice, to get us comfortable with singing these notes. Hey, hey, that already feels a lot more supportive. Just, hey, hey buddy, all that good stuff. Now I'm going to try and sing it. Okay, so this feels good. Hey, right? That's how I speak normally. I'm going to stretch it out. Hey, hey, hey. Awesome. So now we're at the note that I couldn't sing properly before. Hey, hey. It doesn't feel good to do that, so I'm going to try and speak it first. Hey, hey. You might have to get a little loud. It's really as if you're talking to someone way across the street, like we might all be doing right now. Hey. Cool, so that feels better. That feels comfortable. That's how I speak. Now I'm going to sing it. Hey. First I'm going to say it just to reestablish that comfort with myself, and then go, hey. And suddenly, it's a lot more powerful than just approaching it from nothing. Hey. So, even though I've said the word hey a lot, the lesson I want you to take away from this is this idea that we're so comfortable speaking. We've been speaking all of our lives. And we can use that part of our voice that we're really comfortable with to get us comfortable with notes that we may not be comfortable singing. And this can apply to even some lower notes. You can apply it to any part of your voice. It works for everything. It's one of my favorite exercises to do, especially if there's that one note in a song that you're like, I've got the rest of the song down, I feel so comfortable with it, it's just this one note that I don't know what to do with. I say, okay, let's speak it first. Cool. So once we establish that comfort, we can think, okay, if singing is just extended speaking, how do we make it sound more musical than just speaking? So this is where all sorts of complex ideas about phrasing and melody come into play. But the biggest thing that I like to think about is starting to connect words. So when we speak, all of the words are pretty separate. You can hear like breaks in between them. You can hear that there's different rhythms. So when we sing, we don't want to necessarily think about it like speaking after we've already established the comfort from our speaking voice. So if I just do that same warm-up that I was doing earlier, the mi, me, ma, mo, mu, I'm definitely singing. I'm definitely comfortable with it. It's coming from the same place that my speaking voice does. But it doesn't sound that musical. It doesn't really sound like a song. Part of it is that it's a very simple melody. It's just going mi, me, ma, mo, mu. But we can already make it sound more musical if I try and connect all of those words. And that's really going to help us. And that's where this idea called phrasing comes in. And phrasing is just how we break up different lines of a song and how we connect certain sounds to make it sound extra special or beautiful or musical. And you can make the choice of how connected you want something to be. I can go mi, me, ma, mo, mu, which is not that connected. Or I can go mi, me, ma, mo, mu. And that already sounds more connected. And when I'm saying connected, I don't necessarily mean that we get rid of the M's in between the sounds. I'm not going mi, I'm not doing that. I still want to hear all the words. But what I'm thinking about is I'm just thinking of those 5 notes as one whole thing. It's almost like I'm leaning through the whole thing all at once. So I'll do it again. Thinking about all these different notes as one whole thing. Mi, me, ma, mo, mu. You can already hear that sounds way more musical than just going mi, me, ma, mo, mu, even though you're technically singing all the right notes. I want you to think about this in any song you're doing. If you have, your first line of a chorus and you're thinking, I don't know if this sounds that musical, maybe start thinking about it not as 7 different words, but one whole phrase. Or if you're thinking, this verse feels maybe too emotional, and I don't want to be that emotional in the song yet. We'll save that for later. We'll save that for the end of the song. If you're, singing a musical theater song and you haven't quite gotten to the most dramatic part of it yet, you can say, okay, I'm going to maybe break this up a little more and think about it like separate ideas rather than one whole emotional thing. Does that make sense? I hope it does. Cool. Back to screen sharing. All right. So, getting into some more specifics, just as we're starting to wrap up, I just mentioned musical theater. If you're interested in singing, say, classical music, like in a choir, if you sing in a choir at your school, or if you want to do musical theater, there's some different voice types that you might have heard of. I'll just review these really quickly, because sometimes knowing your voice... Sorry, that was my cat. Sometimes knowing your voice type can help you when you're saying, okay, I want to sing these types of songs, or I have this type of voice. Knowing what voice type you are might help you. So, if you sing comfortably way down here, okay, I'm going to move my cat, excuse me. This is Penelope. Hello. What happened? Cool, I think we're all normal. Alright, if you sing comfortably way down here, or even lower, you might be a bass. So as you can see on my presentation, the bass is the lowest of all singers. They provide literally the bass of the music. If you've heard of bass guitar, it's the lowest guitar. Baritone is still very low, but somewhere a little bit higher than that. And just because you can sing really low doesn't necessarily mean you're a bass or a baritone. Everyone can sing kind of beyond what their voice type might be. It's just where you're most comfortable. So just because you can hit a certain note doesn't mean that you are a bass. If you like to sing songs that are higher than that, just because it's in your range doesn't mean it's your voice type. But it's just good to think about these things and say, okay, I can sing really low, but I prefer to sing kind of in the middle of my voice. It might be a baritone. Tenors tend to be a little higher, kind of in this range, comfortably. It's almost like the highest. These are typically male voices, but anyone can be any of these voice types. Tenors tend to be the highest of the typical male voices. Then we have altos, which are actually in the similar range as tenors, but they're typically female voices. But as I said, just because you can sing low doesn't mean you're necessarily an alto. Like, I speak pretty low, and I can sing pretty low, but my voice type is actually that of a soprano, which is the highest. Which I can sing way up here, and that's just the way my voice works. So I thought for a while that I was an alto, but then I was taught how to sing high, and I found it really, really comfortable. So I said, okay, I guess I'm a soprano. So you can look more into these voice types if you're curious about what you might be. I know there are a lot of great YouTube videos that say like, oh, test your range here, and like, you might be this, or you can do a lot of different readings if you're curious about this. This is just kind of a bonus thing to think about. It's not the most important thing. But like I said, if you sing classical music or musical theater in particular, this might be a useful tool for you. All right, and my last point is to say, I said breathing and space are the two most important aspects of singing. And that's true if you're thinking about the physical side of things. But the really important part of singing is to sing what you love. I love to sing because I think it feels great, it feels free, it's how I express myself. But you're not going to enjoy singing a song that you don't really like, and the people listening to you sing aren't going to feel it as much if you're not connected to it. So really sing what you love, find more things that you love. You can learn any song you want. I really do believe that anyone can learn to sing, and anyone can learn to sing anything. Even if it's a song, say if you're a bass, you sing way down here, and there's, an opera song that you really like that goes way up to here, you can just put it in a different key or sing it in a different octave meaning where on the piano you are. All right. I think just because we have about 2 or 3 more minutes, I'm gonna open this up to questions. Stop sharing my thing. You can either type it in the chat or you can kind of unmute yourself if you have any questions. And if not, that's okay too. Yeah, anyone can chime in. It's okay. There's no stupid questions. All right, cool. Well, thank you guys for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this, maybe learned something from it. Yeah, thanks so much, guys. All right, hope you're all having good weeks, and maybe I'll see you another time. Bye.
Thank you.